Hey guys, Trouble T Cat here, recording for the Zombie Arcade, and this video is about my history with gaming, and how that sort of shapes my perspective on games of today. So the reason what we're playing here, by the way, is Wolfenstein 3D, which I dearly hope you recognize. Don't tell me you don't know this game. If you tell me that, I'll be sad, guys. I'll be really sad. This was one of the very first serious games I played, which is a very interesting starting point for me as a young dude playing video games, because this was actually one of the very first very sort of serious first-person shooters made. I mean, I know it looks very cartoonish and stuff now, but at the time there were games that were first-person and involved shooting, but this was the first game that really refined and sort of established what the FPS genre would end up becoming. Wolfenstein 3D. If you've never played this game, and if you're missing a lot of other classics like the Doom series and the Quake series, I would really recommend going on Steam and purchasing the id Super Pack, which includes this game, its expansion pack, all of Doom, all of Quake, except for Quake 4. Anyway, it's got heaps of good stuff, especially retro games, which, I don't know, like, I played through Doom recently, and I had a good time. They're still fun games today, even though they are a bit dated, and of course I'm playing only with the keyboard here, no mouse happening at all. Whoops, stolen my knife. Yeah, shooting Nazis. But before Wolf 3D, before I played this game, I was already into computers, and also to an extent, video games. And I don't really know, like, why I got into computers in the first place. It's hard to say. I just know they were always around when I was a little kid, and my parents and one of their friends as well, I think, were in my memory. You know, this might be lies, but this is what I remember from my youth. We're sort of, you know, geeks. Like, they were into the whole computing thing. So there were computers around the house, and the first thing I can clearly remember when I was sort of sitting down at the computer and messing around with myself was KidWorks 2, which is not a game, but you may be familiar with, possibly. It had like a little speech thing where you could make MSM stay stuff, and you could draw pictures in it. You know, it just had fun crap like that. You know, fun for I was tiny. I think the first real game I got into, though, it would have been, you know, it's really hard for me to remember, but I often, when I think of those early days, I think of a few things. I think of Torrance Passage, which is an old Sierra adventure game, which is a nice one, you know, a standard point-and-click adventure fare. And I think of the Dr. Brain games, which were basically, you know, puzzle games. And I sort of think of those as the first games I started getting into. There was also DOS games that I played. You know, I was exposed to... This is a little bit later, I guess. I would have been exposed to stuff like Command & Conquer, the first Command & Conquer game, and a game called Crusader No Regret, and Tyrion, which is like a sort of spaceship flying game, you know, like a top-down space scroller. I mean, I played Duke Nukem, the side-scrollers. I played all kinds of stuff. My parents obviously weren't too keen on buying me, you know, really violent games and stuff. But I did get to check them out. Like, I was aware of their existence because I was on the internet from a pretty young age. And also, you know, we had like some demo discs lying around and stuff like that, and I used to get the magazines occasionally. So I used to play a lot of demos in, I guess, the mid-90s. You know, I would have been mid to late 90s, I'd say. Even into sort of 2000. Like, I was playing a lot of demos, especially of games that at the time were a little bit older. Like, you know, this is from 1992. And it's kind of interesting because although I was just a little kid and I never really owned any of the games of the time, I feel like I have this really strong connection to gaming in the mid-late 90s, because it's when I was just getting into games, even though I was a little kid, and I don't know, I just thought they were the coolest things, you know, I had so much fun with them. And I guess that's kind of how I got started. You know, I just played billions of demos of things, and we'd go and you know, visit relatives, and I'd play games there. It was just something that was a part of my life, you know, from a young age. So I guess I wanted to talk about a few titles now that were really significant for me. There's Baldur's Gate, the first Baldur's Gate game. It was the beginning for me of like a real love for story-based gaming and for role-playing games. It sort of started with Baldur's Gate. So what are a few of the really core games? Okay, there's Baldur's Gate, I've already mentioned. Trying to keep on track here, but I'm nostalgizing really hard playing this game, you know, it makes it hard to keep on track with what I'm talking about. Quake 2 and Unreal Tournament and Unreal, like early first-person shooters, even pre-Half-Life, were sort of getting me into first-person shooters. And I remember really clearly, actually, I hadn't thought of this until just now, Rainbow Six is actually the game I'm going to credit with getting me into games that are a little bit smarter. Wolf 3D is not an example of this kind of game. Wolf 3D is very much a corridor shooter. You run around blasting people away. There's not much to it. It's fun, but there's not much to it. Rainbow Six, there's this whole planning aspect, and it's sort of realistic. It's actually very realistic compared to a lot of other games these days, especially even games that get called realistic aside from actual milsim. Rainbow Six made me interested in games that offered more than just corridor shooting, just running around shooting, killing Nazis, and stuff like that. And that's an interest that has persisted with me to this day. I look for more in my games than a quick adrenaline rush, a quick fix. And it's also from Baldur's Gate. I look for story, and I look for gameplay that is a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit more... It requires your brain to work a little bit harder. You know, there's more to do with strategy and tactics and planning. You know, also Fallout, an amazing game, another RPG that again required a lot of strategy to play successfully. Hard games. I liked hard games even when I was quite young. And I think the big landmark moment for me that really cemented what I sort of view as my identity as a gamer is Deus Ex. And I remember being so excited about Deus Ex, just offering such a high level of freedom. And I mean, I played through the demo so many times, and it was just you could play the training and you could play the first level in the actual game, and I played through both of those things like a billion frigging times. This was still, you know, I was 9 years old or 10 years old when Deus Ex came out. My parents, they weren't going to buy me something that violent, and that's fine. So I played the demo, and I played it a lot, and I remember actually, in that year, we bought a new computer, or it might have been 2001, it might have been the next year. Either the year Deus Ex came out, or the year after. We bought a new computer, and with it we got a copy of Deus Ex, and Deus Ex is still, to this day, absolutely one of, if not my very favorite game of all time. I think it's amazing. It's incredible how much freedom there is, how much depth there is to the story, and also in terms of strategy, in terms of thinking about what you have to do. It was the moment when I knew this was the kind of game I want to play. It's cemented in my brain. This is what I want to get from my gaming experience. Deus Ex was a huge thing for me. A huge thing. And you know, I could drop names of a million more games that I have nostalgic feelings about that sort of helped along this path. You know, GTA, the Thief series, Aliens vs. Predator, early Warcraft games, Resident Evil, Driver. I love all kinds of games. Hell, I even had fun with like some soccer games in the past, you know? There's so many games. I don't have time to talk about all of them. It's crazy sort of looking back, thinking about how young I really was, and just how into this stuff I got so early on. And I don't know, you know, I can sort of say how that happened, but I still don't know why that is. There's just something about video games that it calls to me. And one thing I sort of wanted to mention about shooters in particular, and about this game is, it's to do with my perspective. The perspective this background has given me is, I feel like, and you don't have to agree with me, I feel like there's been a regression lately in terms of the quality of games we're seeing. I mean, look at Deus Ex was a gigantic critical and commercial success. I mean, it didn't sell as many copies as Call of Duty sells these days, but there were way less gamers those days. And I think Call of Duty is a regression back to dumb corridor shooters. You know, especially COD 4 and afterwards. It's become more and more... I got the key, didn't I? Yeah, I got the key. It's become more and more just, you run around and you shoot dudes, and, I mean, there's a story there. And the story in Black Ops is pretty good. I like the story in Black Ops, but there's no real strategy to the gameplay. There's no real... It's just about the multiplayer, and I think it's a shame that there aren't that many really good single-player shooters released these days. I mean, there's BioShock, phenomenally good single-player shooter. Again, incorporated some RPG elements, which I like. And, you know, there's some other games, but the really big hitters are just sort of dumb. And I like Call of Duty, it's a fun game, but it's just kind of stupid compared to Deus Ex. I guess the purpose of this video, aside from just exploring my history, is I've been thinking a lot lately about what I'm actually going to do with this blogging thing and this YouTube thing, because it's something that I enjoy doing, and I think it's a natural way for me to get more involved in sort of gaming culture. But what you need, I've sort of been thinking about what my sort of hook's going to be, what my distinctive style is gonna be, you know, what I'm gonna do differently from other people. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm still trying to develop my own sort of style. But I think one of the aspects of that is definitely gonna be the fact that I think I have a perspective on games and on gaming that a lot of people don't really have. All I'm trying to say is I think I have a lot longer history with video games, and I think I have a different perspective on modern gaming as a result of that than a lot of other people, and I think that should be part of what's going to make my channel stand out, you know? I think that should be a part of it. Oh. And also, just going to throw in here, we're pretty much done. That's all I wanted to say. I'm going to be trying to update more regularly. I can't believe I'm just getting my ass kicked. In fact, I'm dead now. I have no lives left. Anyway. I'll be trying to update more regularly lately. I've been thinking a lot about the blog, and I've been working on other stuff that hasn't led to updates. So sorry about that if you've been, like, waiting on something, anything. There will be more Homefront footage coming, more newer games. I've still got a sort of Let's Play idea that I'm toying around with. So stay tuned. There's going to be more coming, and I'm hoping to just make everything tighter and better as time goes on. So thanks for watching, guys. You were watching, or we're watching, the Zombie Arcade. This is Trouble T Cat.